101.1 Abuja. In a world filled with questions, many were called, two were chosen. Reality comes to play. Stories are made. Moments when you feel the fever. 1 hour. Arguments. Controversies. Questions and answers. Tensions rising. And more arguments. One man. One woman. One show. X-Ray. Airing live on Human Rights Radio. 101.1 Abuja.
Welcome, my dear friends.
Human Rights Radio. Your 100% effort is not good enough.
But you know.
Give me 101.1 effort. Human Rights Radio. Your 100% effort is not good enough.
But you know.
Give me 101.1 effort.
In a world filled with questions, many were called, two were chosen. Reality comes to play. Stories are made. Moments when you feel the fever. 1 hour. Arguments. Controversies. Questions and answers. Tensions rising. And more arguments. One man. One woman. One show. X-Ray. Airing live on Human Rights Radio. 101.1 Abuja.
Hello once again and welcome to X-Ray on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM. It's 7 minutes past 9 o'clock. We'd like to thank you for being part of Human Rights Radio. Today on X-Ray, I'm not alone. I have my usual suspects. Not all of them actually. Barrister Idris, unfortunately, will not be able to join us today. But Oyikeke Igado has been able to make it. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Wale Greg Williams is here as well. Thank you for being part of X-Ray this morning.
Good morning, Abuja. Thank you, Mr. Peter.
And for you out there, we'd like to say thank you for joining us and being a part of the family. And as usual, we will take our topics one by one and allow you contribute in between so we can have a great time discussing issues of national concern and the trending topics of the day as well. So the first topic of discourse today is the federal government coming out to say it will stop private practice by government doctors. Now the story reads that the federal government on Wednesday said it might stop medical doctors in the public sector from engaging in private practice. This was said at the meeting of the Federal Executive Council yesterday. Nigeria's Minister of Health, Isaac Adeole, said the council had decided to look into the issue of private practice by medical doctors in the public sector and had set up a committee on the matter. He also said that the decision became imperative because of the worrisome development in the health sector, noting that government is desirous to resolve the issue in accordance with what the law of the land states and the rule of professional ethics. Adewale said that the law of the land does not allow any public officer to do anything other than farming, and also revealed that the council also looked at the issue of residency training program and decided that the training should last for a fixed time of 7 years. This is not the first time Nigeria's Minister of Health has come out to condemn certain practices by health-related agencies and most recently individuals. I give you an example. He had a problem with the health insurance in Nigeria at some point, and he questioned the reliability and credibility of most of these institutions. Let's start with Oikeke.
This is a welcome development, if you ask me. If we need to revive our health sector, I think this is one aspect that, one thing that we should do. A situation where medical practitioners are engaged by the government and they're taking salaries from government, and at the same time, they don't devote their time to serving the people. Rather, what they do most of the times is they have their own private practices here and there. A lot of them have their own hospitals, and even if they don't have their own hospitals, they get themselves engaged in other private hospitals. So the time they're supposed to use treating Nigerians, they use it for their personal business. You know, we know the times are not very easy, but I think it's good we stop them. If you want to be in public service, be in public service. For instance, if you go to the hospitals where I come from, for instance, if you go to my local government, the general hospital where I come from, you won't see the doctors. They're not there. They're there in their own hospitals, you know. So by the end of the day, you go to the hospital, you don't see the doctors. It's the nurses that you see. And the nurses are not supposed to consult, but they're the ones consulting there. Meanwhile, they're doctors. Where are the doctors? So by the end of the day, the common man on the street cannot afford to pay medical bills at the private hospitals, and then they go to the government hospitals and the doctors are not there. So what should they do? So I think this is a good development, and I think government should go beyond just threatening. Government should implement it and ensure that any doctor who is in public practice should not be involved in private practice. Let us concentrate and do our works the way we should. But that's not to say that the doctors also, the federal government and government at all levels also, should ensure that they pay their doctors. Some of these things happen because they don't have money to take care of themselves. A situation where, for instance, in Benue State, where doctors called for a strike today because they have not been paid for 8 months. How do you expect them to survive? 8 months you don't pay a people. So it's difficult. So some of them are looking for ways to survive, you know. So, but let's try as much as possible to ensure that we pay our doctors their allowances and their salaries so that we can have optimal performance from them.
I'm not surprised to hear that you host Health is Life, so it's definitely very important to encourage livelihoods to be improved at all means. But Wale, what is your take on this?
Well, usually I looked at it when I first got the information. I said, well, this is long overdue, because for a long time it has been their practice. Whether they pay them salaries or not, it is a habit with our medical subsector. In fact, it got so bad at a point where you go to the government medical facility to complain about an ailment, and it's either the nurse attends to you all through, you know, or when you're able to get audience with the doctor, he refers you in style to his own facility outside. You can't get drugs normally from the government facility, but you will find it in their own private clinics and hospitals, and then it's usually at a high price. The scenario of where and when the Aso Villa was said to have no syringe, you will not be surprised to find those syringes in most of these private facilities. And that's the way we run the country. The corruption fight is, I don't know how we are going to get over it, because if we have all the governors in this country like Buhari himself, we will still not get over it in the next regime. We will need like 4 dispensation. It's a terrible scenario, and every day we lose lives. You see a situation where in a government facility, the doctor has a major stake financially for himself. He tells the nurse and the receptionist that, look, anybody who does not pay the registration or card money, just leave him there. I visited one last month or so, and for a long time the woman, pregnant, was about to deliver, was shouting, no, so what was delaying? Because the husband was not there to pay for card and registration. And this woman sat there crying and groaning in pain. She was just groaning and all that. So we didn't know what to do, except that we have to bring money and pay 4,500 for her to be registered and all that. And that's when they started attending to the woman. It's so sad that the creed that the medical practitioners signed to save life first, put life as paramount or optimum, is being relegated. And you see, when this happens, we don't have any hotline, nobody to complain to, until recently that the FCT administration is trying to do something in that regard. Nobody, you're on your own. Nobody you will know, there's nobody that you will call to say, look, this is the situation, or nobody will help you. And I remember in at some times like that in Port Harcourt, where we have lost so many persons because the actual money that they expect the patient to pay at that time was not available. Maybe the man was running around to look for how to complete. By the time he comes back, he still have to meet his patient where the patient was left. And he says, doctor, what happened? We didn't get the money from you, and since we did not get anybody to bring the money to use the drug and all that, we have to wait. So it is in waiting that that patient passed on. That's very unfortunate. We need to do something about it. The Senate has to sit up and legislate on this. Once it is legislated upon and it becomes law, it's easy for them to be taken up.
All right, we'll move away from that story. It's quite an unfortunate situation if that truly happens. I've seen quite an instance, and it's quite disturbing. But let's move on to the next situation. Senate moves to criminalize secret recruitment in ministries, departments, and agencies, MDAs. The Senate has condemned illegal recruitments by the federal government, ministries, departments, and agencies, warning that it is a threat to Nigeria's unity. To this end, the legislative arm is moving to criminalize secret recruitment into government agencies. This was made known at the plenary on Wednesday when the upper chamber of the National Assembly passed a bill sponsored by Senator Biodun Olujumi from Ekiti South for second reading. The bill prescribes 2 years imprisonment for the head of any agency involved in secret recruitment and for the agency's director of human resources who approves such an exercise. It also provides option of fines amounting to 300,000 and puts the responsibility of compliance on the heads of the ministries, departments, and agencies. This is a common trend. I mean, you've seen where so many people have even been asked to pay money in order to get employed through the back door, obviously, because if it's the normal way, there wouldn't be any need to pay, would there?
It's a very serious thing in our country. A lot of people are not employed, and it's unfortunate that these agencies will now be asking people who are not employed to bring money. Sometimes this money they ask goes up to as much as 200,000, 300,000 naira, for them to get jobs. It's sad, and I think this is a good step in the right direction. We need to criminalize it. Anybody that is found guilty should be dealt with. That's where it starts, and that's how it will end. If we begin to do that, change that we're asking will come. Recently, we still remember what happened during the immigration recruitment exercise. A lot of our young people, they died, stampede. So those are the issues. We need to push these things more than how far we have pushed them now, if we must bring the change. Because a lot of young people are frustrated on the streets. You hear a lot of times government saying, okay, we have employed so amount of so number of graduates, we have employed thousands in hundreds. But in the real sense, people are at home. They don't have jobs. And even if you have to know someone before you get a job. And how do you know someone? Everybody cannot know someone. So a situation where usually when they publish applications, it's almost like false, because they have done the recruitment. People have been employed behind. And so Nigerians should be seen as, okay, we are employing, but the employment in the real sense does not go down to the people. People have been taken. So if you don't know someone, you cannot get jobs in this government parastatus. So I think is what we should discourage so seriously. And I think this step will ensure that the right things are done at the right time.
Wale?
Well, sincerely, in agreement with my colleague, I think it is time that this issue be taken up seriously. But more importantly to me is the fact that government must do a lot of civil enlightenment, because in spite of all of this, it will still be going on. Once the enlightenment is there and government involves the people in all of the issues that concerns the people, you begin to see response. Whenever such issues are just noticed or observed, you see Nigerians reacting even before government takes decision. I think government should involve the people and improve or invest in civil orientation of consciousness.
The question continues to remain, will these punishments be implemented eventually, and will it stop anything? We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll get to hear more from our panelists. Stay with Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM. This is X-Ray.
It's about that time.
This is Human Rights Radio 101.1. Redefining broadcasting. Your right, my right, our right. Everybody's right is protected. Human Rights Radio 101.1. Redefining broadcasting.
Welcome back to X-Ray on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM. We started off by taking a look at some of the developments making the rounds across Nigeria. And the first story had to do with the discussion by the Federal Executive Council saying it might stop medical doctors in the public sector from engaging in private practice. We then moved on to another issue where we discussed the Senate moving to criminalize secret recruitment in ministries, departments, and agencies. And now we move to another major development. Don't worry, very soon we'll open up the phone lines and allow you to contribute on the program. International Monetary Fund IMF has cautioned Nigeria against misusing borrowed funds. We talked about this yesterday, and we tried to take a closer look at the implications of what it takes or what it means for the Nigerian government to take another $5.5 billion of loan from the international community. Now, the International Monetary Fund yesterday cautioned Nigeria against misusing borrowed funds, saying the growth being experienced in the country and others will be at risk if the funds are borrowed and are not used judiciously. This comes on the heels of President Muhammadu Buhari's letter to the National Assembly seeking approval for fresh $5.5 billion of foreign loan. And now the question, yesterday I remember quite okay that Mr. Wale did not see anything wrong with the president's letter requesting for that amount, because he felt it was a normal thing to take loans. I don't think Oikeke accepted that.
Yes, like yesterday we're talking about it here yesterday, and we were very specific, and we said, look, it's not about borrowing these monies. It's about what have we been doing with these monies, or what do we do with these monies. And we said it's okay, we can borrow, but then what are we using the monies that we borrow for? Are we really using the monies for what they are meant for? And if you borrow and you don't use the monies for the real things that they're meant for, then it's not.
Yesterday, Barrister Idris was concerned about the corruption aspect of this. Having to take that money and not judiciously using it. Not because it is misappropriated in some cases, but because it is stolen outrightly. Wale?
Well, again, in as much as I said that nations borrow, I want to wake myself up to the warnings of IMF that our debt profile is increasing. Yes, it is ideal, it's good, it's once in a while necessary to borrow. But it is not supposed to be an exercise in itself, that once you just go and apply for loan each time you are broke or you feel need, just go and apply for loan. Let's discipline ourselves, curtail expenses and be very prudent. I still think the youth organization, the labor unions and various government agencies should rise up to the occasion, engage more in civil consciousness, enlighten the people, empower them, involve them, let them know what it is that they want to use the money for. And I don't know, what happens if the Senate refuses to approve? We need to begin to look at the reality on ground. I hope they're not going to be doing pali and then approve that $5.5 billion. It's a whole lot of money. I think government should consider not borrowing again.
Are you changing your mind? Because yesterday you were optimistic.
I'm saying, Sally, there's nothing really wrong. It's necessary to borrow, But now, the IMF has said, look, our external debt profile is shooting to the roof every time. It is supposed to be reducing. As you borrow, you pay. They service it, like that. It's a circle. But when you're not servicing or you're not paying the old ones and you're still collecting more, it becomes threatening.
And what IMF said was, especially when the loans are not used to do what they are meant to be, the money it's meant to do. And because a lot of times the government will borrow. After borrowing, by the end of the day, what happens? Nigerians are skeptical. They believe that the monies that are being borrowed, usually the monies go into pockets of other people as a result of corruption. So a lot of times Nigerians are skeptical, but what would they do?
This is a very serious issue, and do you see the president accepting this?
Which of the president asking for the loan or the Senate president?
The president himself, the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Do you think he's going to heed to this advice? Or either way, will the Senate president accept or denounce it?
I think we should have a very strong tool. And I think it can only come from the people or the labor or the youth bodies. The president, anytime he wants something, he goes all out for it, in spite of, not minding the opposition's viewpoint and all that. But for me, the only factor that can maybe check or reduce that is when the people are very responsive. When issues like this come up, the people can even make the Senate not do certain things. They can rise up, they can issue ultimatum, they can do some rally, they can demonstrate that no more borrowing. Let's work with what we have. Because in the TSA account, it was reported that we have trillions of naira, and we can't keep that and then go ahead with cap in hand going to borrow money. It's not wise financially, if you ask me.
We sit here and we do our analysis, and the reality might just be different from the federal government side. Again,
that is why I think they should invest more in enlightenment, so we know, because it's in our rights, it's in our place to know.
And I think one of the reasons why Nigerians are very afraid of these loans is because a lot of times they have it at the back of their minds that the loans that have been collected all these times and all these years, what have these monies been used for? Nigerians have remained impoverished, the infrastructure has remained very poor. So Nigerians don't believe that by the end of the day, these loans are going to be used to improve the lives and standards of the people. So because of that, a lot of times Nigerians are not really happy with this borrowing.
Is there anything that Nigerians trust as long as it has to do with the government? there's a lot of suspicion. Am I right or wrong?
Of course, you're very correct. There's this huge valley of distrust because they see. It's just that
because the gap between the ordinary person and these people the gap is wide. So by the end of the day, nobody believes in government. They believe whoever is there.
They're also waiting for the opportunity to go in and then do their own bit because they think that it's a national cake stuff. Just cut, kill and divide, and go away with what you can go away with and take care of the family. If worse comes to worse, they leave Nigeria and go to Dubai or UK or US like others will do. That's been the trend.
All right, we'll now open the phone lines, but before then, we'll take a very quick break for commercial, and when we return, more on X-Ray. Stay with Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM.
Abuja people, better news don't enter town on the 12th of October 2017. All roads lead to the Super Democracy Center for Arts and Culture to celebrate World Sight Day 2017. World Sight Day 2017, aka Every Vision Counts. Make you not take your eye play. World Sight Day 2017. Now Christopher Blanden Mission and Brand Holding Vision Institute, in collaboration with Federal Ministry of Health, supported by Standard Chartered Bank, they bring a common motto, World Sight Day 2017. Prepare to be there. Road Waka go do on that same 12th of October. And place to converge the Area 1 roundabout Abuja, 10 a.m. that same 12th of October. Now the special awareness lecture for Sipene Quincy Center for Arts and Culture, Area 10, opposite UTC Shopping Center. World Sight Day. Make we all come out and celebrate the fact say we can see with our eyes clearly because every vision counts. Come on, Unado.
It's about that time.
This is Human Rights Radio 101.1. Redefining broadcasting.
Welcome back. It's X-Ray on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM. Thank you so much for being part of the program. Before we went on the break, we said we will open up the phone line so you can call us up and be part of the discourse on 081 89 99 1011. That's 081 89 99 1011. And so before the break, we were actually taking a look at the whole. Okay, so let's take a call first. Hello.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Morning and welcome to X-Ray.
That is Akramakalon.
Sorry?
Is that Akramakalon phone?
No. This is not Akramakala. He has done his and he's off. This is X-Ray, a separate program. Okay, so I think somebody follow up from Brekete family. So you can call us up and be part of the discussion. You can take a look at any of the topics that we've taken a look at and make your contributions known to Nigerians. Before the break, we were actually talking about the IMF and what it had to say about the need for Nigeria to take a heed from its advice, and it has clearly stated that Nigerians. The IMF has cautioned Nigeria against misusing borrowed funds. So obviously the world knows that Nigeria has a problem of managing some of their resources in terms of spending and monies borrowed. Okay, I missed that call. But again, it is good news in the health sector. Once again, we bring up the issue of monkeypox, and quite a number of days now we've been talking about the ravaging state of that disease and how it spread from Bayelsa and then to Akwa Ibom, then to about 5 more states, making it 7 in total. Now there is good news. It's good news that 7 out of the 13 monkeypox patients on admission at the Niger Delta University Teaching Hospital, Okoloibiri in Bayelsa, have fully recovered. Hello. Good morning. Can you hear us?
Hello?
Good morning. Please, you need to speak up. Hello. There's a slight problem with the network there. But according to a statement by the State Commissioner for Information, Daniel Iworiso Maxin, the 7 patients have been discharged from the hospital. He added that 6 other patients under medical surveillance at the teaching hospital are responding positively to treatment. The contagious disease broke out 3 weeks ago in Bayelsa State, like we rightly said. What's your reaction to that, Oikeke?
It's good news, really good news. And I think the reason why we're having this rate of success is because a lot of people have remembered and put into practice most of the preventive measures, like, taking care of washing the hands, taking care of so many preventive means of contracting the virus. So by the time I believe the government must have done a lot of sensitization of the people and ensured that the virus did not spread very far within Bayelsa and outside Bayelsa. Like the commissioner was saying that he was very grateful that the people of the Bayelsans took into the issue, looked into it very seriously, and ensured that they put into those measures, preventive measures like washing of hands, hugging, all those things that should prevent them from having contact with the virus, that they healed to government's call, and because of that, the virus did not spread so much. So I think the answer is sensitization and then agreeing to do the right things at the right time. Those things that we do that can get us exposed to the virus, if we avoid them, that will not come to us.
Wale?
Well, I must commend the effort so far, but I'm not really too pleased because I'm more concerned with thorough investigation to be able to say, because we are getting some form of conflicting signals this morning about the authenticity. Government quarter is saying that he's not convinced that it is monkeypox from his own experiment. But all we need to invest more in is to get a clear picture with regards to what this problem really is. And then who gave it monkeypox? How are we sure it's from monkey? What usually causes it? How do we, because Nigerians like to treat, instead of prevent. And then prevention is usually cheaper and it's more effective. So I think if the government focuses on nipping it, going to the root, because I know for every period and time, a certain type of challenge will always come up. So the habit, the culture of going to nip it in the bud, instead of us decorating, treating it, because if you have injury and it heals, it can never be the same when you compare it to normal skin. So Nigeria should invest in root cause analysis and crime prevention and disease outbreak rather than treating, because every day we've been talking about either meningitis or polio, or let's solve the problems that are responsible for all of this, even this monkeypox. Honestly, from my viewpoint, is poverty. There's nothing poverty cannot make you have. It can give you a shocker, it can give you anything. But once the basics of life are being provided by the government, the issue of poverty will begin to die naturally. This, for me, is a product of poverty. I may be wrong.
And I'm wondering how long, Peter, how long does it take for this diagnosis to be concluded? We had this outbreak a lot of days back, and by the end of the day, till now, the health minister is coming out. The health minister is coming out to tell us that he's not very sure, but he just knows that it's a pox family, but that he's not sure it's monkeypox. So by this time, we're not even sure what we're dealing with.
No position yet, and that's really, really not nice.
Let's quickly take this call and then we'll come back to you. Hello?
Good morning, Peter.
Good morning and welcome to X-Ray.
Yes, my name is Mike.
All right, Mike, you're welcome.
Thank you. Honestly, I'm very delighted to hear the announcement that the government is trying to ban doctors from engaging in private practice.
Okay.
Yes, because like my water friend got down said, it is only in Nigeria that the doctors in public hospital will declare strike in the public hospital, but they are working in the private ones. Then, joke apart, the serious part of this announcement is this. if the government officials can say doctors should not engage in private practice, there too the government officials too should not patronize private facilities or the foreign ones too. Like I keep saying, we are just advocates are saying, until we Nigerians, the masses, can make our public officers to patronize our public facilities in the health and education sector by way of demand, we're not begging them. By the time we can enforce them, particularly the elective ones, let's start from the politicians first. We can see now, most of them that are not Muslims, they are attending private mosques, all in their desperation to win votes. If we Nigerians across board can say from the councillor to Mr. President must have their children in our public schools, and also when they first to go to our public hospitals before we can vote and support them, we will make a very big progress in this health and education sector. But until as we allow them to do whatever they like with our stolen money, they fly abroad, even as common cattle or headache, they fly abroad, or the ones that are here who use the private facilities, both in the health and public sector, we will continue to be singing this them something like Kingdom Come. So if the government officials are now waking up to say, okay, doctors shouldn't engage in private practice, we, both the doctors and we the masses, should also say the public officers should not patronize public facilities as well, private facilities as well. That's my take.
Thank you so much, Mike, the change advocate, a regular caller on the program. We appreciate your contribution on the program. And let's again, I mean, this is a pointer to a very serious issue. Laws are being created for the people, and most officials of government do not engage themselves in the practice of those laws. Isn't that a common practice in Nigeria? I give you an example. Just like he has said, shouldn't this be less of a priority, and the main priority should be no government or public servant should be seen in a private facility? They should engage themselves in any services of public nature.
I agree completely, because if they were patronizing our public facilities, they would not be the way they are. For instance, look at the Aso Villa Hospital. If the president and other leaders were patronizing that hospital, of course they will sit up. They ensure that whatever is needed will be there. So it's as a result of non-patronage of these facilities that we have this kind of decay. For instance, if
Sorry, let me just pick this call and then come back to you. Hello.
Hello, good morning, the secretary.
Thank you so much for joining us. Tell us your name and where you're calling from, and please speak up a little bit.
My name is Ifeanyi. I'm calling from Buhari.
Hey, Ifeanyi, you're welcome.
Thank you, sir. Please, I want to comment on the first item on discuss. I decided that it promised me to do a simple comparative analysis here.
Okay.
Because what we are talking about, the health sector, I think it will really help, it will go a long way in improving the services in our public hospitals. But let's also digress a little to education, to worship centers. You see that the government teachers in primary and secondary schools don't have their children in these schools. They prefer taking them to private schools that they can afford, where they think services are better rendered. Our church, our religious leaders build big schools and hospitals from the offertory, donations, levies, and gifts from all hospitals. And after these schools and institutions are built, you don't find the children of the poor and the average there because they can't afford it. Now let's go back to what the minister said about stopping government doctors from private practice. In fact, this is the best that will happen with this administration if they can implement it. Because I am a witness. I witnessed it in Baghdad Hospital, where doctors were not on sick. And we are being referred, we were just being referred, we keep on being referred until we go to see them, 2 or 3 of them in their public hospitals. And we take cabs from different places until we go to them in their own private facilities. This is unfair. The anarchical attitude of our civil servants are unbearable. It is well written. Let the government do something about it. And let there be a law that will make sure that these things are enforced. not just talking, but let's match our words with action. Finally, I would also like the nomination of these doctors to be increased. If their worker package be more palatable, so that they will have no reason to engage in this private practices. Thank you, and they have a lovely day.
Ifeanyi would like to thank you for contributing on the program, and thank you too for always being part of us. So you were making a reference to how it is important for public servants to engage in, public hospitals and
public hospitals. If we can ensure that our leaders and every other person uses our health facilities, for instance. I was talking about the Asu Villa Hospital. For instance, if our ministers and their children go to Asu Villa hospitals, I believe the hospital will not be left without the basic facilities.
All right. Hello. Good morning. Can you hear me? All right, go ahead. What's your name? Where are you calling from? I'm so sorry, the reception is bad here. You may have to call us up as soon as you can. The number again is 081 89 99 1011. All right, so let's take a look at something else very quickly. Yesterday was the day of the girl child, 11th of October, and unfortunately we didn't mention it on the program. So October 11 is the International Day of the Girl Child, and Nigeria joined the rest of the world in marking that day. The day is actually usually set aside to increase awareness on issues faced by girls around the world. This has become important because the girl child has always been discriminated against. Reports had to say more than 62 million girls around the world have no access to education. And I remember we actually went round with our reporters to take that story. We'll take a look at that after this phone call. Hello? Good morning. There goes the network again. So the International Day of the Girl Child, the situation of girls in Nigeria, very disturbing, very appalling situations, and quite in a mess. Hello?
I agree with you.
Good morning.
Yes, also from Apo.
All right, please, you need to speak up so we can hear you clearly. I think the network is pretty bad. But, I mean, what is your assessment of the girl child and the situation of girls in Nigeria, Wale?
Well, so Peter, that is an epistle of its own, if you ask me, because it's not what we should just gloss over. It's a big issue. It's one of the reasons why a lot of nations don't develop in its practical sense. It is not because of the victimization or the challenges of the girl child. From my viewpoint, I think it is also from the point of orientation. The girl child needs to be orientated. He needs to be empowered. He needs to be educated. He needs to be made to know. She needs to be made to know who she is. Because a lot of girls today are worrisomely gullible. Honestly,
who's responsible for that? Is it the society, the parents, or the government? It's a
collective responsibility, even for the girl child herself.
But it starts from somewhere. It starts.
Whatever it is, it's about the feminine angle. The mothers should play their essential